It's interesting seeing what other people think and how other people interpret the same passage that you've also highlighted for yourself. I'm studying Desire of Ages with someone, and that's exactly how it is. She will highlight the exact same passage I've highlighted, but her thought will be slightly different, more personalized for her, and or it brings in a different aspect. It's lovely to see or hear what other people think of something you're studying, and I hope that that is the same for you. Chapter 50. Children should feel that they are indebted to their parents who have watched over them in infancy and nursed them in sickness. There is something about that when you are being mothered, nursed, watched over in infancy. It leaves a mark. All the memories I have of my parents when I was a child, because you might tell, you might be able to tell, I've been sick all my life. And I just remember my dad rocking me, my dad calling me his black beauty, my dad dancing with me, my dad singing to me, my dad cooking me food. And when they eventually noticed it started when I was very young, still in junior school, the lack of the chronic iron deficiency and anemia. He would be the one constantly cooking liver every lunch, constantly making spinach. He would be feeding me, and I was obviously a very slow eater. I only see it later in adulthood when I remember him telling me, "Oh, you eat like a bird." I thought he was telling me, "Oh, you're so cute, you pick." But I realize now he was trying to say, "Girl, you're eating so slowly and so little at a time." But I didn't realize it then. My dad was one of those who never, ever, ever, until much later, said anything negative about anybody's looks or abilities. So he was that safety. And so, because children have been treated that way, they naturally feel or should feel indebted for the love they received and the nurturing they received. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. And so we have chapters like this where they are told how they should behave. They should realize that their parents have suffered much anxiety on their account. Especially have conscientious, godly parents felt the deepest interest that their children should take a right course. Those closest to me know, especially with my teenagers, because they're not here and I knew exactly where their minds were going. They know that this is more important to me than doing well in academics. My dream is for them to do well in academics and be fully surrendered to God. That is my dream. It's going to be heartbreaking to attend graduation, God willing, but there's no God in their minds, in their hearts. It would be quite miserable. That is what matters most, and it should matter most to children if they have conscientious parents who want their children to take the right course. More so should we appreciate our parents if that is how they have been. As they have seen faults in their children, how heavy have been their hearts. My people know that. If the children who caused those hearts to ache could see the effect of their course, they would certainly relent. Unless they're sociopaths. If they could see their mother's tears and hear her prayers to God in their behalf, if they could listen to her suppressed and broken sighs, their hearts would feel, and they would speedily confess their wrongs and ask to be forgiven. It's true. If they could actually experience what conscientious parents go through, they'd be so heartbroken, they would just change. It's like those who've experienced God's love, those of us who've experienced and felt the depth and anguish of Christ on the cross and what it meant for the angels who loved him so much that he would do that for us. When we know how much God loves us, we confess speedily and we repent of our wrongs and ask to be forgiven. Children, when they become of age, will prize the parent who labored faithfully and would not permit them to cherish wrong feelings or indulge in evil habits. See, it's not only about how they act, it's about the feelings, the attitude. we do all know, she also says it, teenage years are bad, but it doesn't mean we should then give them an out. Oh, well, it's their hormones, it's understandable. No, we still teach them how to act despite the feelings they have. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. This is the first commandment with promise. It is binding upon childhood and youth, upon the middle-aged and the aged. There is no period in life when children are excused from honoring their parents. This solemn obligation is binding upon every son and daughter, and is one of the conditions to their prolonging their lives upon the land which the Lord will give the faithful. This is not a subject unworthy of notice, but a matter of vital importance. In the churches, I always hear little children being told, honor your mother and your father, listen to your mommy and daddy. But never have they reminded adults that they're all responsible for honoring their parents, treating them correctly, never harming, never disrespecting. All of us, even the aged who still have parents, they owe them that respect. Parents are entitled to a degree of love and respect which is due to no other person. God Himself, who has placed upon them a responsibility for the souls committed to their charge, has ordained that during the earlier years of life, parents shall stand in the place of God to their children. And unfortunately, this is where it can break down. If parents have not acted like God, then how will the children honor a satanic person? We parents should then, and our parents should also have been standing in the place of God, as in when we see our parents and when our children see us, they should see God. We should see God when we see our parents. The same love, kindness, nurturing, long-suffering, holiness, purity, hatred of anything evil, no tolerance, but begging and pleading, please turn around, change. But now what happens when the parent is not like this? It comes further down one little line. As we know, these are compilations, so there is a lot more that you can read. Read it in the testimonies. There is a lot that is said about godless parents. Anyway, so he who rejects the rightful authority of his parents is rejecting the authority of God. And even that line is actually, it's everything that I was saying you can read in the testimonies. I think one or two. Rightful authority. Unfortunately, not all parents are godly, and therefore they follow and obey the prince of this world. And we should not listen to the prince of this world. It is better to obey God rather than man, even when that man is our parent. And that's what I said. That's what I meant about the children should honor the parent if they have stood in the place of God, if they have represented God. Then they have rightful authority. Woe upon us if we are the opposite. The fifth commandment requires children not only to yield respect, submission, and obedience to their parents, but also to give them love and tenderness, to lighten their cares, to guard their reputation, and to succor and comfort them in old age. Is it succor? I will look up that word and I will tell you how to pronounce it, but not now. If your parent is godly, kind, you need to respect them and submit and obey no matter how old you are. And that is why Isaac could obey his father even though he was 40 years old, because he loved his father and his father tried with all his heart to be a God in his child's eyes, to represent God. If you've done a private sin, I will show you that, and then we move on. I'm not going to tell the whole world that, hey, but if you've committed a crime, that's a whole other issue. And that's why I was wanted to go with private sin versus committing a crime and a flaw. You guard their reputation, but you don't keep them from the consequences of their actions. There is amongst our families, especially our black families, a terrible scourge where when an adult male has raped, molested a child in the family, we would rather the child suffered because what happens in the family must stay in the family. This was a crime. This was a sin. That father definitely does not have rightful authority and definitely does not represent God. And so they should bear the consequences of their choices and their actions. So that's what I mean, that guarding reputation, it's different. It's like the adultery. You know, it says the wife must keep her husband's faults, the heart of the wife must be the grave of her husband's faults, but it doesn't say sins. Adultery should be disfellowshipped. So obviously she must have then told someone. When wrongs are spread and are evil, then you don't protect the wrongdoer. You are your father's keeper as well. And also, if they don't guard your reputation, okay, they're then already not God-fearing anyway, and then they don't deserve your love, but then you do have the right to stand up for yourself and tell the truth. We've seen the Bible is littered with, I hate, what did Paul say? I hate that whoever, he told a lie about us. Paul was honest. Paul was open. He didn't just keep it to himself because that man did a disservice to the truth. And so when your parent does you a disservice and the truth you live, then they're fighting against God. And then you have to stand up against the wrong, against the sin. So crimes, we don't hide. We don't hide sins that impact other people or that also harm your own reputation or the reputation of others. There, we step back and speak truth. We can't live with a parent who is darkness if we proclaim and pretend to be light and keep their secrets hidden. We expose them to save the souls of those who are being deceived. That's why we do it, and to prevent the harm, like those who hide rapists in the family, from happening to any other child in the family. We have to speak out when sin is being committed. When children have unbelieving parents and their commands contradict the requirements of Christ, then, painful though it may be, they must obey God and trust the consequences with Him. Unfortunately, the world does not know the whys and the wherefores, and that is when you say, here I stand. And this is where things have gone downhill. So, for example, I'll give you an example with my own family, where there's a relative my parents were living with, but I'm married. My other siblings are also married, older siblings. They are married, they have children, they have families. And there was this one sibling living with my parents. And this one sibling employed, I'm not employed. One employed sibling was also doing wrong to the parents. They've come now to old age, probably senile, definitely senile. And so wrong became right and right became wrong. My friend tried to go and work for my parents, as an example, and she worked like every single day for 6 weeks. She worked nursing my mother, even though this other sibling was there, able-bodied, young, and healthy. And I eventually said, you need to have a rest. You need a Sabbath. And my father called her and told her, after she had gone to visit a friend, you must not listen to me. My father told her not to listen to me because I'm a Pharisee and she should be working 24/7 because Jesus worked 24/7. So she is not allowed to have a rest. That's what I mean. That when they contradict, you have to say nope. And that might include strangers as well. Because you tell the stranger, well, she knows anyway what the Sabbath is. So she knew that I will listen to her. He told her I'm poison. It sounds so ridiculous, but it's actually very hurtful when your parent hurts you. It's really hurtful. So that's the kind of thing that was happening, but it wasn't only happening with her in the household. My parents were both hiding the stealing from others who would come visit. There's suddenly no one in the house, they've all been abandoned. Meanwhile, we have been giving them money, but the thief has been stealing the money. We bring grocery. You see, that's the thing. When you love your parents, no matter how they treat you, you still care for them. So we were bringing food, bringing grocery. The one time, even though my back was so sore, I took my mother's wet bedding and went to go wash it. And what does my father say? And don't forget to take your other siblings' bedding as well and go wash her washing. Parents can be infuriating. So of course I just kept quiet and I did not take the able-bodied ones' furniture, bedding. And so you keep doing their washing. You keep giving them food. We gave them food on a Sunday, like for a month's worth of grocery. That very same Tuesday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I went back because I don't know if someone was sick or I had to bring documentation. Everything was gone. A whole carton of bananas, only 2 bananas left for my elderly parents. Everything else taken to that relative's boyfriend, according to the neighbors. It became so bad, the slander, and that's where I forgot where I was going, but it's not only the mistreatment, it's not only allowing a sinner to steal from your other innocent children who are doing good, and I never even thought of it that way, that you're allowing a sinner to steal from your own daughter, sacrificing for you, and you're allowing this other one to steal from you. Even the prodigal son wasn't that bad because the prodigal son asked for his share. So it then became dangerous, and dangerous because you know what I believe in. You know what I believe in, but my parents were telling people that we are neglecting them, rather than to say, our young child, 30s, who lives here with us is neglecting us, working 5 minutes away from here, Monday to Friday only, 5 minutes walk from here, employment finishing at 3:15 p.m. Instead of them saying, this child has abandoned us and disappeared without caring for us and having stolen our food, they were telling people, these older ones have neglected us. And that's where you speak up, because so they're pretending to be holy. They're pretending to believe in spirit of prophecy, and so you speak up and say, go and ask the lawyers. You say, go and ask the neighbors. They will tell you the truth. You bring receipts. You don't just say, but. You tell them, here is the email from the social worker, because me and my other siblings, we cared. So when it wasn't working through us, we then involved social workers. The 1 year, it was me. The next year, it was a different sibling. And the same, it was written. Come in. And so because you do love, and in fact, let me go back to that. Because you do love and you do care, you keep trying. You don't give up on them. You don't give up too quickly. So we got social workers involved, and it's written in email, documented by a neutral party who's there to help take care of the vulnerable. Mr. Tandi's dad admitted that she freely takes from Tandi. He freely demands from Tandi, takes from Tandi, and yet we've got the evidence of the stealing from this other sibling. They went to through the SASSA, the grant for the elderly, if you're not South African, and they went through his bank as well, and it was all there. Evidence, stealing. And the question they asked was, why is it that you keep straining your daughter Tandi, when your other child is employed and is also stealing from you, your finance is actually enough. That's the worst part, people. All the stuff we were doing was meant to be a bonus because the finances were enough for them to survive and thrive on every month. This was a bonus because we loved them. To say we love you, we haven't forgotten what you did for us. It wasn't because they needed it. They didn't need it until the thief moved in. And that was the question. Why is it that you're doing this to your daughter when you actually are enabling a thief? And they said, one told me your dad is stubborn. And he just said, don't talk about my daughter. So even through that, when you're abused, when people are being told you're a waste because you're not out there in having a career. Hey, people, be reverent. Be reverent. When people are abusing you, turn the other cheek. For me, that meant even though I was vegan, one of the days I arrived and there was no food. I even cooked meat. I hadn't smelt meat in ages. It stank. It was disgusting to me, but they needed to eat. And they know where I stand about meat. So that's the other lesson, friends. We just have to keep loving. We won't honor them. We won't obey them. We won't allow them to get away with stealing, or we won't allow them to get away with lying. We won't allow them to besmirch the honor of God who we obey. But we will keep caring for them anyway. They take a coat, we'll give them another coat. So that's another piece of advice I have for you, because at the end of the day, you'll be able to say, I did everything I needed to do, even though. And God can only commend you for that. It's not about the person, it's about what God would say. So yes, we will be kind. We will not honor them if they are not honoring God. But we will still be kind to our parents. Who knows, some actually change. And that's the other thing, we keep praying for them. Some parents do repent. Some parents do convert. Some parents do acknowledge that they've been doing wrong by you. So we cannot close the door to how people will allow the Holy Spirit to work within them. In this rebellious age, children who have not received right instruction and discipline have but little sense of their obligation to their parents. It is often the case that the more their parents do for them, the more ungrateful they are, and the less they respect them. Spoiled children can become the most ungrateful, even though they were spoiled, because they know, oh, I can walk all over you, and you won't do a thing about it. You'll reward me. Children who have been pitied and waited upon always expect it, and if their expectations are not met, they are disappointed and discouraged. This same disposition will be seen through their whole lives. They will be helpless, leaning upon others for aid, expecting others to favor them and yield to them. And if they are opposed, even after they have grown to manhood and womanhood, they think themselves abused. And thus they worry their way through the world, hardly able to bear their own weight, often murmuring and fretting because everything does not suit them. This is a case study of my own family. That relative who lived there, this person did not finish they never finished any education. And because the one time my mother went to go and pay the fees, and the person at CPUT told them, Mama, you're paying for this one. Is this your child? And my mother said, yes, this is my child. And he's like, we know her. She parties on Friday nights. Saturdays, all she cares about is coming to SASCO meetings on Saturday and afternoons. She is not studying. We plan to academically exclude her. This was now the 4th university this child had began at and never continued at because they were partying. And instead of a punishment for all those wasted thousands, my mother bought this person a vehicle, a car. Unemployed, bad behavior, and they were given a car. And so it continued that way. Even after marriage, this person expected everyone else to help them. And this one time, after we'd given to our parents, we'd given to this, we had our own expenses as a family. I said to this person, okay, your spouse comes from a family. That family has employed siblings. I'm not employed. I am giving to our parents every month, all the time, sometimes more than once a month. What is your spouse doing? Why is your spouse not asking their relatives if your spouse is helpless? You are one. I'm not one with you. Your spouse is. And then I was called a fake Christian. That is how it is. It's terrible what happens when a child has been petted and indulged. And I guess that is why we warned the other chapters not to indulge and pet our children. I get given a car even though I've partied away my life, never finishing any qualification at all, despite the money poured into me. Of course, then people must take care of me. So I will go on, even when I'm in my late 30s. Why is that one who's got a family and is sick not helping? Meanwhile, as you know, there's been help. People I've hired, people I've sent, people I've asked to go and help. Things I've cooked, laundry I've taken on top of my own laundry. So it is serious. It will come back to bite you. Other people, same thing. Lady in church who I mentioned before. Last born, I mentioned this last born disease last time as well. He is the drug addict. He is the thief. Let us not indulge our children. Rather err on being too strict than to indulge, because it will hurt you and it will hurt them. They will never be able to grow up if you're treating them like a baby. The purified new earth will be no place for the rebellious, the disobedient, the ungrateful son or daughter. Unless such learn obedience and submission here, they will never learn it. The peace of the ransomed will not be marred by disobedient, unruly, unsubmissive children. Oh, friends, I can't tell you the number of times, that's why I've changed my number, that strangers would tell me, your sibling is not taking good care of your father. You need to fix it. How can I fix it when I myself need fixing? And I've got my own family and I don't live in the house. We tried, friends. We tried, but it just couldn't happen. And that's the thing. It mars the peace of those who are conscientious. It destroys it mars the peace of the conscientious. I have seen children who seemed to have no affection to give to their parents, no expressions of love and endearment which are due them and which they would appreciate, but they lavish an abundance of affection and caresses to select ones for whom they show preference. Is this as God would have it? No, no. Bring all the rays of sunshine, of love, and of affection into the home circle. And unfortunately, this actually happens more with the indulged, spoilt one. They're dismissive of the parents. They don't even cut their toenails, but they will travel kilometers to go and comfort an ex-boyfriend's aunt's deceased husband's cousin's daughter's at the funeral. They will go and attend some random person's wedding, spending money, taking pictures of themselves cooking, but they can't even cook at home. It's awful. And though they might enjoy themselves today, God has only one ending for such people. I pray that none of us are like that. I pray that we are grateful, that we are giving to our parents, not taking. I pray that we don't honor our rightfully deserving parents less than we honor people of the world. I pray that we don't honor people of the world more than our rightfully deserving, God-fearing parents. Children, it is necessary that your mothers love you, or else you would be very unhappy. And is it not also right that children love their parents? Imagine if parents were abusive, if we withheld love from you, if we withheld time, if we withheld affection, if we didn't feed you as a child, how would you feel? So does the same not apply the other way? Should the child also make sure that they do not withhold any of those from their parents? And how do you do this? You show this love by pleasant looks, pleasant words, and cheerful, hearty cooperation, helping the father out of doors and the mother indoors. That's what we should do. Helping. The best way to love our parents is to help them. And the next chapter will talk about this help. If you are truly converted, if you are children of Jesus, you will honor your parents. You will not only do what they tell you, but will watch for opportunities to help them. This is something I've been asking my children, training my children from age 10 onwards. It's not only with the chores I've told you must do. Look for things to do, the extras, please. And people, I say this because I've lived it. We had a helper. Some of the day it was part-time. So my mother never actually told me to clean anything, but I cleaned anyway. I ironed my father's pants. I ironed anyway. I would, as you know, I've told you this, I would think, let me do this as a surprise for my mom. Anyway, so I know even when you're young and not told to, children can think it. And so I demand it or require it of my own children as well. Even now in their teens, I remind them, it's not only the chores you know you should do on your particular day, but also the other things you should be doing. Notice the paper that's on the floor, pick it up and throw it away. Simple things like that, which they're not doing. So, children, young people, we need this. We need to do this for our parents. Some of us were ignorant. We didn't know this, but now we know. So let's do it. He considers all, God that is, God considers all these caretaking, thoughtful deeds as done to himself. This is the most important kind of missionary work. Children, that is the most important kind of missionary work you can perform. Helping your parents, doing not only what they told you to do, asked you to do, stopping the things they told you to stop, but finding other things to do to make them happy. Working indoors and outdoors, being a blessing. That is what God wants. Let's give it to him. Let's give our parents love. Honor those who are honorable. And unfortunately, step back from those parents who are not honorable, who want you to disobey God. I mean, my parents would label, mock. My father once even tried to show me 5 testimonies and tell me, you must stop being plant-based. Well, he said stop being vegan. But the chapter actually said that it's sin to eat meat. That's how the devil can twist the minds of our parents if they're not stayed on Christ. And so if you've got that kind of parent too, who dishonors Christ, who hates those who love him and obey him, don't be like that. Still give love, still give care, and still be like Christ. Die daily. Because every day he was on earth, he suffered. The cross was just a culmination of his suffering. But every day Christ was on earth, he suffered, loving the people who hated him. So let us learn from Christ to love our parents who don't love us. giving, turning the other cheek, but also being honest and faithful. May we as children, if we still have living parents, learn from this, whatever age we're at. And if we are parents, I pray that our children will not be like the selfish, spoiled child, but that they will remember and prize the prayers that we prayed for them, and that they will become good children who honor us, who honored God.